This week I want to talk to you about customer experience, and this message mainly goes out to anybody that works with customers. So anybody that actually deals with humans that you're trying to give a great experience to. So I had a crazy, nightmarish, you might even say, situation happen this last week. I was trying to fly from Houston to Dallas, and I was, it was normal flight. It's like an hour and 50-minute flight. Show up at the airport and my flight gets canceled. So they put me on another flight. That flight also gets canceled. They put me on another flight and that flight goes delayed 30 minutes at a time. So this is the beginning of my experiences, 3 canceled flights. During that time, I dealt with a lot of customer service agents and everybody really was pretty good to me overall. The last one though, they kept moving it every 30 minutes. And I sat there going, you're gonna cancel the flight. Does it matter that we're going 30 minutes at a time? Or, could you then be a little bit more clear with me on what actually is going on? So your first lesson for customer service today is just be clear with people and honest with them. At some point, everybody around me was like, that's a lie. And it went from being frustrated to, now you're just intentionally lying to us. You have no idea. And the people at the counter didn't have any idea. So the first thing I can tell you is just being honest with people and clear with them can do a ton for a relationship with a client. So I end up not getting on that flight. By then it's 11:30 at night. I call up and they get me moved into the next morning. It's 6 a.m. And so I was like, all right, I got a 6 a.m. flight. How am I going to do that? Well, interestingly, they have no hotels. So they waited to cancel so that all the hotels around the Houston airport were all booked up. And so they hadn't anticipated what would happen if all of these people can't fly. Now, if flights were rarely canceled or rarely delayed, then I could see this being a problem. Wow, we didn't expect this, but they're pretty regularly delayed or canceled nowadays. And so the second thing I can tell you is just anticipate a client's needs, right? If you think that something's going to go bad, then analyze and go, what can we do to make sure that when that thing goes bad or if it goes bad, we've got another solution already in the wings to be able to solve that problem for our client. That would have been awesome if they had an idea. But instead, I ended up going to C14, where they had a bunch of cots set up that they were sold out of. And then I ended up sleeping on a bench in a restaurant, which is honestly the first time I've slept on a bench, or at least that I can remember. Okay, next thing that happens, I wake up in the morning, 4:45, and I've got to get to the gate by 5 to fly out at 6. Well, I get there and I walk up and this guy is standing there at the gate and he's just got this mean face on, clearly doesn't want to talk to anybody. And I walk up super tired. And I'm like, hey, can I ask you a question? He goes, what? And I'm like, whoa. And I go, hey, where's my plane? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, what? I go, I'm waiting for the plane to Dallas. He goes, I don't know. And I'm like, what do I do? And he goes, go talk to customer service. So have some information for people, or if you don't, it's that interaction that could be magical, right? You could turn that into, oh my gosh, how can I help you? A problem that is not your problem, that is your company's problem, is your problem. And so when somebody's got a problem, even if you had nothing to do with it, jumping on and starting to help them solve that, just a great way to do things. All right, so here's the end of that story. I roll over to the lounge and I walk into this lounge and I go, hey, I'm trying to get on this plane. And they said, oh, they booked you at the wrong airport. I was supposed to go out of the other Houston airport in 30 minutes. And I went, oh, what do I do? And this woman looked at me with the most caring eyes. I mean, I'll never forget it. She just looks at me and she goes, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. And I'm like, thank you. Compassion, right? Compassion and empathy can go so far. I'm not even her airline's problem, because the airline that actually canceled me 3 times and did that to me the night before, that was a totally different airline. They had just booked me on this one because it was the only airline that was flying out in the morning. So it's not even her problem. But she looked at me with these eyes of care and said, I'm so sorry. Sometimes that's all somebody needs. I literally rented a car and drove 4 hours, and she's my favorite person because she felt what I was going through. She didn't even solve my problem. She just said she's sorry. And that's, I think, the biggest takeaway of all of this. Stuff is going to go wrong in business. People will fail. Things will fail. It's not always going to go your way. And if you're the one on the other side of that, dealing with somebody who's just experienced this, the best thing you can do is just lean in and say, I'm sorry, even if it's not your fault, because that can change an entire attitude about how somebody does, and it can change their entire day. I know it did for me because I drove 4 hours and then spoke for another 8 hours and still made a great day and still remember that experience I had. So you have so much power when you work with clients. If this week you're working with somebody who's going through something tough, just lean in, say you're sorry, feel what they're feeling, have that empathy, and then see what you can do to make their day a little better. That's my customer service tips for you this week. I will see you next week.